I'm Chad Sylvester, representing Exodus Outdoor Gear, aka Exodus Trail Cameras.
And I'm Cameron Durr, representing Exodus Trail Cameras as well.
So the starting plan this morning, as I said, we did a bit of little road scouting, kind of driving around, looking at some areas, and we have a couple areas marked that really look good. There's a lot of diversity, a lot of edge. It's around water, and you know, there's a lot of game trails just crossing the roads out of some of the clear cuts and into some, not really marsh area, but I guess it would be more like creek bottom stuff. Wetlands, yeah. So we have a couple starting points. We have to make sure that they're open, but I think we're going to dive into one of those areas first, and it lines up good with a southwest wind, which I think that's what we have today. So we'll be able to park right on the road, have fairly easy access, and just scout those edges and transition areas to get started.
Yeah, just cover a bunch of ground.
Yeah. Well, my preparation for this has really been the last 14 days in the mountains of Idaho, trekking around chasing elk. So we really, on my end, haven't done a whole lot of prep work. We haven't looked at any maps, very little. We got in late last night, drove, maybe did an hour of road scouting this morning, just kind of laying eyes on you know, some of the terrain, some of the surrounding area. And really our plan is just to be, I would say, ultra aggressive and just dive into what looks good, scouting a lot of edge, probably moving pretty fast and just covering ground until we get into something that we really like. Yeah, so obviously being a trail camera company, we do have cell cameras and some regular SD card cameras, so we do plan to carry some cameras with us. So if we find something we like, we will be using cameras as part of our strategy.
Our goals and expectations aren't really too high. We haven't done a whole lot of prep work to back anything up, so we're looking for a 2-3-year-old buck, and we're just gonna have fun. We aren't going to try to put a bunch of pressure on ourselves. He's going to hunt for 2 days, I'm going to hunt for 2 days, so we don't have a ton of time. So we're just going to dive in, test our skills a little bit, and hopefully learn a bunch.
Yeah, I think we expect to learn while we're here. I mean, I think that, you know, we're in a camp full of some really great hunters, probably what we would consider better than ourselves. So we'll take in, you know, all the advice we can get as we kind of spitball and spin things off at different people. But we definitely expect to learn and have fun. It should be a good time.
Hey, I'm Greg Godfrey, and I'm representing Team Tethrd.
I'm Ted Bridle on Team Tethrd as well.
So I guess we're probably the only weirdo saddle hunters here at the challenge, since everybody else is rocking, I guess, probably the best tree stand and sticks on the market as far as the tree stand stuff goes. So
if I was a tree stand hunter, I would align with Dan.
If I was a tree stand guy, I'd be rocking a B stand, but tree stands suck, so we use saddles.
We already know that.
But this is our first trip to Wisconsin, so I'm pretty excited about it.
So typically I would do a tremendous amount of research, and I would speak to the wildlife biologist about, you know, water access, what's the status of crops, acorns, and things like that. And unfortunately this time it just didn't work out. I've just been so busy with work, and I just wasn't able to do that. So I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants. I'm that guy in camp that doesn't have all the intel this time, and we're gonna wing it and see what happens.
Well, I didn't treat this hunt any differently than any other out-of-state DIY type hunt. So a lot of cyber scouting on OnX and looking up other detailed info from the state of Wisconsin, the DNR, and finding out rules and regs and all that stuff, looking at public around the area, talking to buddies. I got a good buddy that lives in this area, Sean Chadwick. Gave him a call and got some intel from him, but unfortunately I didn't know anybody specifically in this particular piece of public that we're hunting that had any intel about it. So I'm kind of going blind too, and this type of terrain isn't really what I'm great at. So, well, not that I'm really great at anything, but I'm not really all that used to the hilly marsh country, so I'm excited to give it a go.
Yeah, it seems to be an interesting mix of hill country and surrounding marshes that I'm not accustomed to hunting the swamps or the marshes, but I definitely, you know, hill country I would say is probably my strongest. So, and one of the unique challenges about hunting in this area is that it is a military base, and you know, you have to check into certain areas, and you have to check. It's constantly, you are looking to see what areas are open, and you have to check in and check out, as you well know, right?
Yeah. So I spent 10 years active duty, and I only got out because we started Tethrd and it took off, and it was a great opportunity that I couldn't pass up. But yeah, I've hunted all over the country at military bases all over the country, from Colorado to upstate New York to down south in Georgia, kind of everything in between. And what a lot of people don't know is these military installations can absolutely be hidden gems. There's a lot of times red tape, like Ted talked about. It's you usually have to buy a separate permit, so there's a little bit of extra fees incurred. And then, you do have to check in and check out. And there's many times where I've been scouting an area down south in Fort Stewart in Georgia, where I'm from, and that's kind of like my home turf. And I'll be on deer, on sign, and then the next day you go to hunt it and it's closed. And that's kind of pain in the butt. So there are some tricks that you can learn about hunting on military installations. But if you're willing to put up with a little bit of headache and a little bit of red tape, they can be dynamite. Because they just don't get the pressure that typical surrounding public land might get, because people are intimidated about being on a military installation. They don't know the rules, they're not familiar with it. They see that you got to buy a permit, you got to check in, they're like, screw it, I'm just going to go hunt the public swamp next to my house. So if you live near a military base, it can be really, really good. So we got here yesterday, and we scouted all afternoon yesterday. It didn't pan out at all. I basically watched Dan's videos, and took Dan's advice and looked for the nastiest swamp that I could find, and that's what I walked through. And it didn't really pan out. We didn't see too much fresh sign. Lots of trails, lots of highways cutting through the marsh and the willows, and kind of connecting some of these oak islands that we found, but nothing that really got me super excited. And then talking with Dan, he said that that's not all that surprising for this time of year. So I might dive in and go for the marsh stuff, but then Ted had some good luck scouting oak flats, so maybe we'll key in on that.
Yeah, I didn't get in until a little bit later last night, so I didn't get to scout yesterday, and we didn't get up early this morning or anything. We kind of took it a little bit easy, but I was able to do a little bit of scouting just a few minutes ago and found some a hot acorn flat for sure. But from what I could tell in that one area, if the rest of the areas are like that, there's a lot of acorns everywhere, and that can be challenging to sift through the sign to find the good sign. I didn't get to explore any of the marshy areas yet. I suspect that that might be a good area to focus on, would be especially where a nice buck could bed in the marshy area and then transition to the feeding area on the acorn flats in the evening. So might be looking for something like that, but just haven't really got enough boots on the ground yet to tell for sure.
So for goals and expectations, I am not here looking for a giant. I would be happy with 120-inch 8-point. I will put my tag on that deer the very first day. If I had longer time to hunt, or if Wisconsin wasn't so far from where I live in Georgia and I could possibly get a return trip, I might try to save that tag for something a little better. But I am not going to be picky. If he comes in and he gets me excited, he's getting shot.
I would say my expectations are similar. If it gets me excited, I'm definitely going to shoot. I don't really know enough about the area yet to have a realistic expectation, so it's going to be kind of flying by the seat of my pants. Expectations could be changing, but we'll see. We'll see when we get in there.
I also got a doe tag, so if a nanny goat comes in, she's getting shot too.
Nice.
I'm Tim Hinkie. I represent the Hunting Beast. Corey Gelhausen representing Tenacious Hunter. It's a YouTube channel that I run. A couple buddies. You can check us out: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Follow along. Preparing for the hunt today was just a lot of computer time, checking out Onyx and Google Maps helped me out a lot. Looked at Bing Maps a little bit, but that didn't show a whole lot of information. I found most of my deer looking sign and good spots on Google Earth and Onyx. Yeah, the same. We've been conversing through Messenger, and I use hillmap.com. That's kind of one of my favorite ones, I think, just because I have the split screens. I can see the lines. It's a different type of aerial versus the Onyx. Onyx is really good for the property lines and such, but and I also like to check, I use Wind Finder. It's for checking the wind, so you can see exactly how you want to do your setups based on whatever area it is. I really like the Google Terrain View. It shows the hills really good, and then once you get on there, you can use the 3D view, and you can actually tilt the screen and see where there could be some draws and funnels and saddles, stuff like that. So that's why I really like using the Google Earth. Yeah, we've been looking at maps for a couple weeks or so. This last week we've been actually quite a bit.
Yeah.
A lot of the areas that we picked out, unfortunately, are closed till Monday, but that's where we have to be really creative. And today, I think we're going to focus on some creek bottoms, and we already noticed there's a lot of oak trees around here, so we feel like we're just going to have to find the bedding or where the good ones are going to be, because the oaks are going to be everywhere. So.
Yeah, once Tim invited me to this hunt, I've probably been looking at maps for at least a solid 3-4 weeks now, trying to get stuff figured out.
Yeah, I think we're gonna scout together, and then we'll probably split up. We're not gonna be in the same tree. We may, depending on the area, if we might be like 50 yards apart. It just depends.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be situational. Yeah, both of us are gonna be self-filming.
Yeah, so definitely self-filming, just splitting up and working as a team to split up at first to try to figure out where the good areas are and narrow it down from there, having 2 different guys and 2 different perspectives of the same area. So
yeah,
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we have very similar backgrounds. I mean, we're both Northwoods, Wisconsin, big woods type hunting. So
this is a big chunk of area too. So we know it's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy, and you got to get a little lucky too when you're dealing with an area this big,
especially with this short time. Well, my goal is to put something on the ground. I got a doe tag, so first doe that walks through is going to get it. But as far as a buck, we were actually just talking about it.
I said, I didn't get no doe tag. I'm down here to shoot a buck, and I'm not going to be super picky, but I want something with a rack on its head. So I'll be happy if I can shoot something, but just to see one in this short amount of time we got to hunt will be a success for me. But I definitely want to try and shoot one while I'm down here.
Yeah. Every setup, I think we're going to be, having the mindset that we're going to kill something.
So what is your starting plan for the hunt?
So I think we're going to focus on the north side. As I mentioned, a lot of the areas that we initially had were a lot of hills, and it was towards the southeast. Those are all closed till Monday. So we're going to go, I think, north side.
We're starting swamp, and I think that'll be a little easier terrain to work with a limited amount of time. Just past experiences and hunting up in hills, I know they can be tough. So we're going to try and make it happen in the swamp, and if we don't find any deer down there, then we'll move up to the hills. But the hills are definitely a tougher terrain to hunt in a short amount of time to try and get one.
Yeah, and based on the maps, the creek bottoms that we saw you can see the trails. You can see where the potential bedding is, where the deer are going to be coming out of. So that was kind of a good tip or a good giveaway for us to kind of like narrow in on with those transitions.
Driving in here too, it seems like there's oak trees just about everywhere, so we're hoping to find some isolated pockets of oaks down in the swamps that hopefully there's some deer feeding on.
I'm Dan Infold from Beast Gear.
I'm Josh from the Hunting Beast YouTube page.
I got a pretty busy life nowadays with a full-time job doing R&D. I work for Beast Gear, and I run Hunting Beast. And I kind of put off preparation to the last minute because I do so many hunts and stuff, the maps all get jumbled up in my head. And I was going to do one last hunt, and I was going to do a day of prep. And on my last hunt, I got a buck I've been after for years, way back in a marsh, and had to drag that thing out, and it was a whole day of dragging. And I ended up, I don't even have half my stuff here. I didn't even sleep. I just kind of
showed up,
ran up here. So probably threw your prep off too, because we were going to prep together.
Yeah, and I did probably less than I should have. I did talk to Dave, who's pretty popular on the forum site. He's been here before. We actually had a call together. He talked to one of the conservation officers in the area, and he gave Dave a couple of hints on some decent areas. Pretty limited amount of information, but we did have at least some starting points, which is probably where we're gonna go first here this afternoon. So that's what I did. Very little map scouting. We did a little bit this morning when we got here, but yep. I think it's okay though. I think most of the time your plans get changed anyway, so we're starting off fresh.
So my goal is to shoot a nice buck. I guess anything with a good cage is what I'm after, but that could change if I see something pretty big.
Yeah, and I can't really say mine's much different. It probably depend on the mood I'm in when the deer come strolling through. Obviously, I'd like to hold off for a big one, but we only have just a few days, and then I'm back to Indiana. So I think that's my goal, is just to, whatever makes me happy at the moment is probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think the terrain here is kind of, a lot of it's just the same. So it's kind of hard to know, where to start.
Yeah.
But I think we'll dive in, we'll see. And then if we got to change our plans or change our goals, we'll do so. This is Rick Kimball from Beast Gear. He ships your stands, ships your sticks. He puts all our stuff together. He does all the work while I'm out playing, right?
I do.
Yeah.
And he's way too close to me right now. Oh. Because I'm shipping stands and sticks to you guys, I was way too busy to get prepared, and I didn't get prepared until I came here and I started talking with Josh and Dan, and then we started looking at some maps. My goal obviously is to get a big buck, but I do have a doe permit. I'll fill it in a heartbeat, so whatever's brown is down.
I'm Lou with Stealth Outdoors.
I'm Cody.
Cody's with Light 'em Up Outdoors. I asked him to come up and film.
Very little preparation.
You can elaborate a little more than that. Golly, some of the guys talk for 10 minutes and lose just the 2 sentences.
So Dan's standing there, so I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but when was it? Monday night or Tuesday night? You're like, hey, you want to come to this? I'm like, yeah, I'd love to. And we just had a lot of things to button up back home, so really I'm walking into this thing as blind as I've ever been. And I'm looking forward to it. We're going to try and find some deer.
Definitely going to be a challenge. I kind of dove into the maps a little bit. Never hunted up north, so it was new to me, looking into the big woods area. So, really what I did to prepare, went on Dan's YouTube channel, dove into the big woods, got as much information as I could from that, and really used that to kind of pick the map apart and target what I thought we should look for. And that's really the preparation I did, getting on the iSportsman and kind of learning the areas and learning the numerical layout of it.
And we talked quite a bit in the last 3 days,
right.
And I heard you guys were very dry over here. So I was very curious to see if you had acorns, because over in Michigan, holy smokes, I can't walk through my yard without breaking my ankle. We've been so wet over there. This is the heaviest acorn drop I've ever seen in Michigan. So I was really surprised, because looking for food is what we want to cover ground, look for food, hopefully to find deer. And I was surprised we found some acorns.
Found a lot of acorns, believe it or not, and I was not expecting that, because like what Lou said, the info we're getting is that it was dry, but I mean every trail we walked on that was at the top of a ridge or on a transition, white oak seemed to be dropping,
And I did, and since we're talking about acorns, I mentioned that I'm from Michigan. He came up from Mississippi, and y'all know what they call an acorn down there?
Acre.
They call them acorns.
An acre. Yeah.
So we were looking for acorns.
Acorns, that's right. Goals is get down here and accomplish a task. Get down here, and first goal is kill a big buck. But just find some success, whatever that may be. Branch out from what I've experienced before and learn as much as I possibly can about a new area, really a different region of the country.
And really, I'd like to find some deer, and if something will stand still long enough and it's legal, I'm gonna throw metal.
You're each invited here because I respect you as hunters, and because you have unique values and that are unique from how I hunt or from how Josh hunts. And you use different equipment, different skill sets, and I think coming together as a camp atmosphere to go after these deer is gonna, show what in each one of our, bag of tricks works, what don't, and how we overcome that stuff. Because no matter what you use for methods, as you know, you hit failure after failure, and then sooner or later, how you deal with that failure and what you learn from it is what makes the successes. So we really want to capture that here. I'm really looking forward to this. This is not a challenge. It's not a contest. This is a camp. We're all working together, and I want to see everybody have success. I think this is going to be fun. I think we're all up to learning something new here. None of us have ever walked in this property, I don't think, right? Except for the little scouting we did right now. Good luck, everybody. Let's hit it.
It is Friday, September 24th. Cameron and I are in Wisconsin. We got in last night after dark, set camp up, went straight to bed, and then woke up this morning, went and got some coffee, and now we are out driving around trying to basically just get some visual of where we are, how this ground lays out. But we're having some difficulties. We forgot to download maps. Cell service is not very good where we are. So we're trying to fight that. And also this weird check-in process for this military base. So you have to have a bunch of permit numbers and license numbers and everything on hand. You have to check in and out of different areas as you travel into and from. So it's a little bit different. We just can't, you know, take the reins and take off. We gotta follow these procedures and processes. So right now we're just pulled over trying to get familiar with some of this stuff.
So there's a swampy area back here, if you can see it. It's right on the edge of the installation and it's really close to civilization. So I'm hoping it might be an overlooked spot, possibly. Could be, but I'm gonna walk back here and check out this swampy area and just see if we can see any oak trees, any sign, beds, etc. So that's the plan. I can already see a deer trail coming right through here, so maybe it'll be good. We'll find out. We're in business. I mean, we found buck sign.
Thing that I didn't expect or anticipate until I see just now is the soil is very sandy. Check it out. Easy to see tracks as you're driving along. Let's go for a walk.
Alright, so we're about 15 minutes out from the campground, and it's day one, Friday, and Corey and I got some spots kind of picked out on the map. We've been keying in on some hills and also some like river bottoms. So kind of the goal is first we're going to set up camp, and we're going to do some driving around, glassing and seeing if we can find some oaks. And see what we find from there, and hopefully get on to a good one. Huh?
Yeah, I'm just happy phase one is over and hauling the camper down here, no problems, flat tires, stuff like that. So we're off to a good start today.
Yeah, we're not late either, which is not always the case. So. Just to spend about a mile in the woods, in the hills, in this rain. And it's coming down pretty good now. We're pretty wet. So we're just gonna take a quick drive. Learn some more of these areas. Take advantage, even though it's raining, you can still do something. Six. So just saw a nice buck. Probably a 6-pointer. Didn't look like he had broad tines, but at least shows that they're moving in the daylight. It was right off the road. Wasn't too skittish of us though. It's encouraging.
Should we lock this?
Yeah, so let me get this extra battery really quick.
Here.
That's what I'm trying to do. That's my goal.
Group of hens. It's pretty cool.
God bless, they're huge.
That's pretty cool, huh?
That is a bunch of hens.
Yep. It's a fall group of hens. There's another one down there running.
Roll down your window.
Oh, that's a big hen down there. Look at that hen
yeah, I
right
see
down
it.
there.
Oh, yeah. Alright guys, me and Lou are headed in for the first afternoon. What we've been doing since we arrived at camp is just really trying to get a lot of deer tracks out here. Trying to really get a game plan together and just put eyes on all these places. Get as much intel as we can. We've seen a bunch of deer. Saw a bunch of turkeys, ain't we? Yeah. So, we're gonna get quiet. We're trying to stalk in this area, just see what we can see. There's another oak ridge up there. This is actually a really good little circle right there. I'll walk up to that base of that and see what happens.
All right, me, Dan, and Rick are at our first spot here, kind of getting our stuff together. It's like 1:30 right now, and we found this one spot, kind of what I thought was going to be a little bit overlooked. It's kind of on the very south side of the property, and then on the border that way, across the road, it looks like there's some crop fields, and I used the Onyx crop layer to know that for sure. So we actually didn't drive down there to look at it, but just kind of thick and nasty in here. And we're planning on kind of walking the crop field edge and finding trails going out to the crop field and then kind of working our way back. So, yep, we're all checked in here at the unit and getting ready to head back.
River bottom action.
Yeah, dude.
It's fields there.
Last year it was corn.
Okay.
Onyx will tell you that.
All right.
So then it's beans this year.
Could be. Yeah.
So I zoom in here. I see a little small ridge behind me here that goes up against that private land. A couple, looks like properties over here. And then there's some really thick stuff that we've been walking beside. And I think that edge there might be good. I wouldn't mind trying that out, and it gives me plenty of room if I don't find something to just keep going. What do you think about the other side?
Yeah, I think I'll come down the road a little bit and then walk down this, what looks like kind of a swampy area, and then if I find some trails coming across into these crop fields, I'll find a place to set up, and if I don't, I'll get to this river and just follow it back and look for crossings in it if worst comes to worst. So
that seems like a solid plan. The hardest part with your plan versus mine is that the wind on your side.
Yeah.
So I think you got to really hug that private land.
Okay. All right. Rick just went in down the road here. There's a spot where a lot of deer were crossing the road at this real narrow spot where woods kind of met up with some green beans, and there's also an alfalfa field across the road, and looked pretty good. A lot of really heavy trails. So Rick took that spot. I'm going to keep on walking. There's a creek down here that I'm going to follow in and try to set up on it where deer may be crossing to come to these private crop fields at night. So earlier in the week I thought it was going to be cold here, and here I am sweating. Some decent buck poop, and then I was looking at a tree right over there and had some pretty high tine marks on it, but it's not like a real aggressive rub, so I don't know if maybe a deer was trying to get its velvet off or something, but it's real high on that tree. So that's a good sign though. I'm thinking I'm gonna maybe, the creek is just right here, I think I'm gonna kind of follow it back in there a little bit, and then Rick should be right over in there somewhere. So that's my plan. Good buck sign though. The wind is kind of shoddy right now, but it's supposed to flip on us as the evening gets on here. That's chest high there. Make sure I get in there close enough to
was walking down this creek here, and I'm not going to get close to it because I think I'm going to set up on it, but if you look, right there is a scrape and a fresh licking branch. Yeah, I mean, it is thick in here. So I'm going to get my bearings on which direction I'm facing right now and set up for the wind and then go from there. I like this area. I kind of wish I knew what was right through the woods there, because I'd like to see if it's oaks or not. I can't see anything, it's so thick in here. But anyway, I'm going to get off here and try to figure some things out here.
That's a pretty good rub. I went north off the trail. Those guys went south. Actually, they went east. And I went west. Sorry. Pretty thick in here, and it's easy to get turned around. I took my compass. I got to go directly east to get out of here. That's a pretty good rub. There's a little bit of sign here, but it's kind of deceiving because it's hard to see the sign. This stuff is just all dried up in here, but I can see some trails, and where it was softer I saw a lot of tracks. I'm just trying to get into something where I think the deer would be. It seems to be a really good transition area in here. I see some maple and stuff up in here. I don't see much for oak, but there's oak further back, so I don't know what to think. I'm just going to keep moving up here and see if I can pick up some good sign. That rub, actually, even though that's good sign, feels dry, and the branches that are broke off look like they were broken off a couple weeks ago, not right now. So that's not fresh sign. I want to find fresh sign. Sign's a little fresher here. A little more tracks. There's some poop that ain't dried out. An old rub and a fresher rub. I think I'm going to set up. I think I'll give this a shot. I'm not real happy with it, but for not coming here and scouted, I think this is a fairly good spot. Just figure out a tree to get into here. Give her a shot. And here comes the rain.
Alright, I was just getting ready to set up somewhere, and Dan called me and said, let's get the heck out of here and go scouting somewhere. So I'm making the trek back to the truck now. Kind of a miserable evening. Maybe I'll sneak up on one walking in this rain.
Alright, we saw a buck over here. I don't know how big it was, but I got a glimpse of it when we were driving by, and I just kept driving because it was alert on us. Josh is going to try and get some film of it, and then we're going to mark the location.
Nice 8-pointer. Oh, there's two of them, Dan. A bigger one.
That one's a shooter too.
That was a bigger one.
Okay, dude.
Alright, so we've been driving around. Well, it's been raining and the rain finally quit. And one of the sections up the hill we saw, I don't know, 5 or 6 does probably total all along the road coming down the hill. And then as we're following one of the does up, we see a couple rubs running up the ridge. So we're running out of time. So we decided that we're gonna just hunt right across from that, where we think there's a potential buck coming out. So we're gonna stand here. Corey's watching that way. I'm watching that way. We're gonna adjust if we see something. We got an active scrape behind us. Yeah, and there's 2 scrapes actually on an oak tree over there, and one of them is right down to the ground. So there's some fresh buck sign in this area.
Everyone in camp had the same strategy for day one. Lots of driving the roads, getting familiar with the area, and seeing lots of deer after the rain stopped the last 30 minutes of light. Thanks for watching day one of the Hunting Beast Breakdown at Fort McCoy. To follow along the rest of the hunt, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and be looking for day 2 of the hunt in the next few days.